Hello, hello. Welcome to another episode of NC Web Dev Digital Marketing Series webinar. We'll give a few seconds for people to log on and get their notifications. Today, I want to be talking about web design for better user experience, which is something that's very important and highly underestimated because most people will tell you, yeah, well, I have a website, it's fine. People can find me and they'll get what I'm trying to sell them. So they'll get it from me, whatever it is, whether it's a service or a product. We have another afternoon one. Of course, feel free to ask any questions or comments below, and I will answer them as I get to them and as I go through the presentation. Okay, I think that's enough time because, again, it's a lot of topics to cover today. So let's begin. Okay. So again, welcome to NC Web Dev's Digital Marketing Series webinar. Today, we're going to talk about web design for better user experience and how to create a user-friendly website. Let's go. What we're going to cover today: understanding user experience, web design best practices, making your website mobile-friendly, and how to test and optimize your website. Most of these, they will go through, they kind of intertwine, they overlap. So when you do one, you actually do the other, or when you get one accomplished, for example, the testing and optimization, you kind of have to do it for every single one of these pieces that I'm going to be talking about. I mean, it's all about this. All web design is about testing, optimizing, correcting, getting user feedback, and optimizing again. You always want to, things change every day. You know how fast new cars are coming out, new computers. You need a laptop now every 2 years, otherwise you're like completely out of date. Even iPhones, look at how many iPhones come out every single year. There used to be one every couple of years, once every year. Now it's almost once every two every year. So let's start with the websites. Understanding user experience. Well, if you want to build a website, first you got to kind of define what are you going to use your website for. Who are you going to use it for? Well, you're going to use it for your target audience. Who is your target audience? Well, you have to define that. You have to find out. You have to talk to people. You have to see. The best way to start is doing some, which is almost the second thing. Also, we're going into these points. Like I said, most of these points kind of are either related or they're kind of together, combined in one way or another. But you want to understand your users. You want to understand who your website is intended for. What are the people's goals that are visiting your website, and all of this got to be combined into one package that will make your users happy. Best way to do it is look at other competition. You're trying to get into an industry, whatever. A lot of times we talk about the restaurants. Well, okay, you want to have an Italian restaurant, so you figure you might want to have some colors that correspond with Italy. You figure you might want to have some. You might want to have some foods there that are Italian. Preferably, you don't want to have an international cuisine kind of style Italian restaurant. And also, it's the type of customers you're gonna be attracting. Is it gonna be just passersby from a truck? Is it gonna be somebody who's gonna come down and sit down with you at your restaurant? And they're gonna be your guests, or are they just gonna be online ordering? What are you gonna do? Who is it for? So, and then you conduct the user research. So you see, okay, so you may actually even talk to some people. Say, listen, what are you expecting from my website? I'm going to be having an Italian restaurant website. What are you going to look for? What is the number one feature you want to be accessible to you? That means like you looking to order. You just want to research my restaurant. You want to look at what I have to offer. You want deliveries. You want pickups. You want to be able to schedule reservations. What are you looking to do? Which takes you into the next step. When you're going to be designing it, you're going to have to kind of role play, develop user personas. That means you're going to role play. So, all right, I'm a customer. It's 6 o'clock on a Friday night. I'm looking for someplace to have dinner. What am I going to do? What am I looking for? And then you go through the steps how you would when you would be your own customer. And you could assign these things to other people, these roles, and as they go through them, you get a better feedback, and then you could better design your website and the services you're going to offer and where you're going to have everything available, going from the most important to the least important. The next is to map user journey. Again, that kind of comes off of point 3, where you're going to look at it and you're going to say, okay, so if the user is looking for this, where is he going to find it? Okay, it's this corner right up here. So the next step would be this. So I'm not going to put it on the other side of the website. I'm going to put it somewhere nearby so that they can go 1, 2, 3, 4. They don't have to go all over, scroll up and down. I mean, that's basically what you're trying to do. You're trying to give them access to it as simply and as quickly as possible. One of the ideas you can use is use wireframes and prototypes. Basically testing. The way we do websites is that we have subdomains or third level domains, and then we test on that. And when either the client or we are happy to even present it to the client, then we only then do we actually even think about going live with it. So, testing. So you draw a wireframe, then you do a prototype, and you see where you're going to go with it. So that's something that's very important. Monitoring website analytics. Yeah, that goes without saying. So when you, and this is something after more like you launch your website. Once you launch it, once you have it running, then you see what your users do. Where are they leaving your website and why? Because if you have a big bounce rate on a certain page, that may be an issue. And if there is an issue, you better fix it, because otherwise you're losing a lot of business. So, you always before and after and during and all the time, you want to monitor it. Of course, it's simple as installing Google Analytics, but installing them is one thing. Next thing is understanding it and making proper adjustments when you need to make them. Web design best practices. Well, the number one thing is always the good old saying, KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. Well, for the method KISS, you have keep it simple and easy to navigate. As I mentioned before, you want user to come in to see only a few things. Like the things I hate the most, and I think most users will, is the mile-long index pages with a lot of text and then nobody knows what's going on. And before you scroll to the bottom, you get tired of it and you just leave the website. Not a good idea. So you need a lot of text. Just don't throw it at the person all at once. I mean, to take your time, kind of dose it, kind of just give it piece by piece. Don't try to go all in. I was like, oh, here's all this text. Yeah, this is all the website. Yeah, it's good SEO to have a lot of text all in one page. No, it's called goulash. It's, or salad, how we would say in modern day and age, would be a word salad. So you don't want your website to look like a word salad. Definitely not your homepage. So, and the number 2 key thing in the best practice is, of course, responsive design. I'm going to get more into that. Basically what that means is there's a lot of people, or it's I think it was 83% of people have now, access to websites through mobile devices in one way or another, and they all have different screen sizes. So you need to make it look good in most of them. Clear and concise language. Yeah, there's a whole technique on writing blogs and stuff, and so I don't want to get into all the details of that, but keep your sentences short, get to the point. Don't extend sentences, none of these compound structures that 6 lines for one sentence. People won't pay attention to it. And the SEO ranking engines, they will also not give you a good score. So clear, to the point, because the customer wants to come in, find out what they're looking for, get the answer, get whatever they need, and go on with their life. They don't want to have to fight or explore your site to get that one piece of information they need. So consistency, color scheme, and typography. Basically what that means is don't make it look like a mix max of something, different colors and mix and match kind of thing. It's kind of got to go together. And also you don't want light yellow links that would go over dark yellow something, you'll make it visible. And you got to realize a lot of times when people looking outside and when there's a sunlight shining on their device, if the shades are close, they're probably not going to be able to read it. So don't forget that. Those are small little things, but they make a big difference. Important info and call to actions must be visible, obviously. So make sure that whatever your most important thing is, they find that on the homepage. And also, if you want the conversions, that especially goes for landing pages, but homepage as well, If you're looking to get them their information, if you're looking to offer them a service, make sure it stands out. It's right there as soon as they hit your website or a landing page, whatever you designed. Also, try to use high quality images and videos. I mean, I always talk about every week almost how important it is to have good images and good videos. Competition is big, so don't sell yourself short on images, and try not to use the same images everybody else is using from stock. So when you're looking for stock images, don't take the first three. And then if you always make some alterations, cut out certain parts, add something to it. The best thing is if you could actually do authentic images of your own self or your company, your office, and your food, your premises, your place of business, your meetings. Even if you go out and have one-on-one meetings, make sure we met with these people last week. This is our meeting with this and this, and this is what we do. We're working. That's what you want to do. White space and visual hierarchy. Well, what's white space? Well, it's the stuff that you see, for example, in the slide on the side. You want to make the white space used to kind of separate the objects and to make it clear that this is another topic. This is something that's different from the other thing that you used, whatever the section is. So you want to section it off. And so you want to go, and the visual hierarchy also goes with, for example, H1, H2s, and H3s, where you have the headings lined up. You don't want to be skipping back and forth because that hurts your SEO as well. Next thing is ensure accessibility. What that means is make sure, for example, you upload an image, you always want to have alt text, because what that does is for people that are visually impaired, doesn't mean they're blind, just visually impaired. I'm not talking, so it's a handicap. They can see some of the stuff, but they want to be able to browse and access your service. So if they can't see the image clearly, the alt text helps them because it reads out what's on the page, what's on the image. That way, that will help them get access to your information and your services. And now, last but not least, something we talk about all the time, optimize website speed. Speed is everything. People are not patient. And I've been talking about this here almost every week. Website speed. And that's design and hosting. So make sure you stay simple and concise, and make sure your speed is up to date. Best tool for that is GTmetrix. That's what I can recommend. Always test that through GTmetrix and you'll see your stuff. Next, okay, so now we talked about the web design best practices. Let's look at some numbers. Graph number 1 shows you 52% of users won't return to a website due to aesthetics. As I said before, the colors, the look, the visual appeal, the fact that you don't have things overlapping, it's clear to click and stuff. Aesthetics. Like at home, you want to have things nice and neat. Well, your website should be that too. Because if people can't find it, you're losing 52% of your revenue. They will not come back. They'll use it once. They'll be like, yeah, I ordered it. The product was good. I liked it. But I don't have the time to fight through the design. So they just won't come back. You're literally losing 52% of your business. Next thing, 90% of users stop using an app due to poor performance. So again, your website is slow, doesn't load up properly, things you always have hiccups. There's always going to be some errors. They got to be minor. You want to minimize that. Because if the user has a bad experience, they're not going to come back. Again, they're going to stop using it midway. So if you have errors on your website and the things won't load properly, you're losing 90% of your business. And the next one is I was shocked when I saw this. And because we design websites and we always think like how great it is and how, that's the one thing about it is like if you don't design websites with designers, design it with people. And I'll mention that later as well. Then this goes for everybody. Only 1% of users say e-commerce sites meet all their expectations all the time. So no matter what your design is, no matter what your website, how much you paid for it, this has nothing to do with one website in particular. This means that out of all the e-commerce sites, only 1% of all of your users are happy with your business or your performance of your store or online store, are happy with it all the time. So there's 99% room for improvement. So if you think your website is the best in the world, always remember, only 1% of people are happy with it. So, sorry, that's the way it is. Hardcore stats. Nothing personal, nothing individual. And here we go with the mobiles. Making your site mobile friendly. Key thing. Responsive designs. Most people have it. Again, it's automatic with Wix and Squarespace. There's always response design there included in their services. However, they will not work with every single device. So sometimes you need to code extra, sometimes in which they don't allow you. But you want a responsive website, and the more responsive it is, doesn't mean, it's better looking and responsive than the other responsive. Just the better means that it displays better properly in multiple devices, because how many different types of phones and tablets are there? And not everyone will display your site same, and this is something, other thing you got to test for is every browser is different. Because if you do the CSS programming, you know that there is, in the old days, used to be everybody else, and there's a special CSS style sheet for Internet Explorer. Now it's everybody else, and a special style sheet for Google Chrome, because the number one guys in the industry, they also think that they're the big honcho, and everybody has to do what they say. And unfortunately, people that don't use Google Chrome, like even me, I use it very little. And some of these sites, they won't show up. They won't, not even the site will load up, but they will not find what they're looking for when they come visit your site, your e-commerce store. Use a mobile friendly layout. That kind of goes in between. I mean, you always want to consider mobile phones. And the best way to do it is to start working. As you do a layout for your big site, for your laptops, for your desktop computers, but then you also want to pick out something that's very resembling to that, and you also want to fine tune just that mobile design, because mobile phones are a big thing. Optimizing images and videos, that means for example, I've seen this so many times, and it's one of the biggest number one mistakes, especially in mobile devices when somebody's at a poor reception place. And their website, even their mobile, has a 10 megabyte video that's loading on index on their homepage. I'm like, this is, and then people get impatient. They don't realize it, but, try to minimize that if you can. Best thing is to just skip out videos from homepage, because people, if they want to see videos, they'll go to YouTube. They're not going to go to your page. So use legible font sizes. Again, that's very important, because you may think it's a good idea to use a small font, but when that font gets translated onto a mobile device, it disappears. It looks like amoebas, and you really don't want to be reading amoebas. They're pretty tiny. Minimize page load times. That goes back to, for example, the videos I mentioned and many other things. You just don't want to have multiple styles. You don't want to have the web page too long. You don't want to have 3 videos on it, stuff like that. So. And one important thing is when the forms get designed, make sure they also work in mobile devices, because you would not believe how many forms you try to fill out in the desktop. Then you go there next time and you go there from the cell phone. You're like, okay, well, then there's a line missing, or the button can't be pressed because it moves aside, or you can't get to it. It's inaccessible, stuff like that. Again, ensure accessibility. It's the same thing. One thing goes for desktop sites, but the accessibility in mobiles is a little bit different. There's certain things, and again, there's certain features that need to be there and need to be done differently. Number 8, test on multiple devices. Always. If you have 5-6 phones around, try them all. Yeah, sometimes you're going to be shocked how many times, how many different versions of one site you're going to see on each phone and tablet and everything else. You'll be like, whoa, this looks like a completely different website. And yes, it almost is. And you're going to lose a lot of customers. And here are some numbers about that. 74% of visitors are likely to come back to your site if it has good mobile UX. So that's how important it is. If you want 74%, if you want to increase your visitors to come back, return business rates by 74%, do a perfect mobile UX. Simple as that. 74% people will come back more often than they're coming back now. 85% of adults believe a website's mobile version should be of the same quality as desktop one, if not even better. Why? Well, because that's about that number that I mentioned in the beginning. That's how many people access your website from their mobile device. Over 80%. So no surprise that people want a better mobile. So if you're going to focus on something in today's world, if you're going to invest some money or some time into fine-tuning the website, do the mobile first. The desktop versions, they're a lot more forgiving. But on mobile device, you don't got much room, focus on that. It's important. Is it worth investing into UX? Well, industry-wide, across the industry, a study is roughly estimating that every dollar you invest into improving your UX can have an ROI of $100 on a dollar. So say your revenue is $10,000, you're going to invest $1,000, your revenue is going to go to $100,000, 110 basically. So it's 100 times one. Every dollar you get into a good quality UX, that's how much it's going to be. And 90% of smartphone users say they're more likely to keep shopping if they're having a great user experience. So again, 1% are happy, but 90% are saying that they will keep shopping if they get a good experience. I mean, it's, corresponds together, and it just makes sense. So if you want your people to stay shopping on your site, to get additional products, come back, get more, user experience is the key. Testing and optimization. Testing. Conduct user testing. Again, when you do this, I mentioned that before, you want to design a website, you do, let's say, my shop at blah.com, and you send that to somebody, and you send it to at least 5 people. That's the key. A lot of people don't have the money, because to have a professional test your site, it could be very costly. You can get similar results with sending it to 5 different people, but just be careful. Don't send it to other designers, because they have a handicap. They look at websites and everything a little bit different. So you want to send it to normal users, not touched by the design industry handicap. It is a handicap, professional handicap. So if you just get an ordinary user, your uncle, your cousin that uses the phone regularly but has no idea about IT, but of course everybody uses mobile devices, ask them, listen, can you try to go through this process and let me know what you think? Send it out to 5 people, you save yourself a lot of money. Monitor website analytics. It goes back to in the beginning. I mean, you need to have an analytics software, and you need to keep testing it and keep going back and seeing how well you score on page speed, Google Insights, all sorts of stuff. So, optimize website speed. Mentioned that already. Ensure accessibility. That's going to be on every single one. I mean, you always want to have it accessible by everybody, especially now with the ADA, I believe it is, that they access to disability something. But if you do proper SEO, you're going to be compliant with the ADA. Use heat maps and click tracking. That's an interesting one, and just basically you make graphs and you follow where people spend most time, and then where they spend less time, then maybe you improve that. And continuously test, and repeat again, and test. How to optimize the website? Well, you definitely want to use CDN. It's a content delivery network, which means basically your website will load from a point that's closest to where your user is accessing it. We use a lot of services from WPMU company because it's a one package. There's one thing about optimization, you don't want to have a lot of plugins. So basically we try to get away with we have WPMU. Well, they have about 7 different plugins, but it basically comes from one company. So you don't have to deal with 10 different companies if something goes wrong. Or if your website's slow performing, you deal with one company and they're more compatible. It's not a 5-in-1, we can do it all type of thing. And then if you have to deal with 7 different plugins, it's a security risk, slows your website down. Not a good idea. Then for design, we don't use any templates. We use Elementor. We create everything original. The advantage of that is again, if you use the regular WordPress, what happens is You could get different plugins, but Elementor supplements, I mean, a whole lot of plugins. So instead of having 25 different plugins, one doing the forums, one connecting to social media, another one doing this, just use Elementor. Use everything in that. It's all in one package. Again, updates are guaranteed. I mean, Elementor has almost a 40%, 25% market share in WordPress. It's not available standalone, just in WordPress, but it's got a good market share. It's like number one, followed by something number two. I forget the name, but anyway, so we use Elementor. Try to do that because it will supplement a lot of plugins and that will speed up your site. So, and when you post multimedia content, embed instead of upload. It's always a good idea because you want to have an embedded video. That way, again, increases your website speed because you're going to play it from YouTube or whatever other site you're going to be hosting your videos on. But you don't want to have it from the server because that's going to kill your SEO scores, site speed scores. And lazy load images and videos. Basically, that means the order, you got to kind of organize how these sites get loaded. Lazy load only says, well, you know what? You reorganize the loading of the page because what you're trying to get to is you're trying to get the user to have access to the features and want to be able to start using the site. So you first make the site functional and then you tell it, okay, well now after the user can now click and doesn't have to wait for the images to load, do that in a secondary step. It also improves speed and your SEO score. And conclusion is pretty simple. By testing and optimizing all aspects of your website I just mentioned, you identify always for improvement, keep working on it, you increase everything. Engagement, conversions, overall satisfaction. Let's get that 1% up of e-commerce happy customers. That's basically what it is. And thank you for your time. Now if you have any other questions, feel free to leave the comments below. I will gladly answer them now, a little bit later, tomorrow. Reach out. If you need help with any of this, ask. Have a great day. Thank you for your attention and good rest of the day.